So, hello. I'd like to introduce Marcus Meissner. He will talk about openSUSE maintenance. So,
thank you. Is this okay? Do you hear me? No. Mats. May I introduce Michael Mats? He always gives unqualified comments. Today I want to talk to you, I want to present to you the two things. One thing is the openSUSE maintenance process as we live it for the openSUSE release products. And the other thing is how this all works technically in the background so that you can use it, you know how to use it, and you can look closer into it. Especially also as the Evergreen project that does the ongoing maintenance can also use it. So it's basically showing you how this all works. So how does the life of the openSUSE distribution look like? On September 5, 2012, Mr. Stefan Kulo shipped openSUSE 12.2 and it's bug-free and feature complete. Sadly, this is not true. So, what happens after Kulo ships 12.2? So far, the openSUSE project has 3 different ways of going on. We all know it, but let me iterate you through them again. So it's openSUSE factory, the development stream, all the unstable things, all the new compilers, all the new things inside. I will not talk about this. Then there's openSUSE Tumbleweed, a project maintained currently by Greco Hartman, who tries the approach of a rolling release. So basically taking the latest release openSUSE, which is 12.2 currently, and putting new updated packages inside, like a new kernel, like a new KDE, and similar things. So he rebases with every openSUSE, and yeah, so basically some people like it, but it's probably not for the common user. And there's openSUSE maintenance. So what does openSUSE maintenance actually want? What does it actually provide? I thought about this while creating this presentation because it's not really, we throw some conditions down, but not why or what we want to do. So what we actually want to do is keep the users free of security problems. I think that's a clear thing. Free of bugs that they can encounter, and also enhance their experience in a bit if it's easily possible. And very importantly, in a carefree way. What do I mean with a carefree way? The idea is that I can install openSUSE 12.2 at my parents' home, at my parents' workstation. I didn't, but that's the general idea. And that they can, even with automatic updates installed or with manually installing updates just by clicking next, can their systems updated, can keep their systems secure without worrying that something will break, without having me to phone or to travel there to fix their system because an update or a new kernel or something broke it. So it's basically providing bug fixes, security fixes to users, to all users, not just the experienced ones, and not having the necessity to tell my dad on how to exactly fix this machine. So this limits the scope a bit. There's also the comparison to Tumbleweed where Greg puts in a new kernel and it might boot on 90% of the machines, and the other 10, okay, you have to know how to recover it. That's not something I would like to sell to my parents. I would really like to have them install the updates and not worry that they break. So we can do updates for, of course, bugs. And in the last years, really the amount of bugs that we fixed has increased. So as I started security, in the following years, we mostly fixed security bugs. So, but in the last years, it's ever increasing that we fix also regular bugs. It's not that we had less bugs before or more bugs now. It's that we now know that we can fix them, so that people know that they can getting their bugs fixed in the distribution, and that we have a more or less easy way to do so. And more and more do. So if you have a bug, see it in the 12.2 or 12.1 releases, then it can still be fixed. You don't need to wait for factory, actually. Sometimes we miss packages or miss to release packages, but yeah, I don't quite recall any, but also small improvements. OwnCloud. No. So Christian is mentioning OwnCloud, which we did not ship as an update. But there was, I think, a Dropbox-like service that we shipped at some point in time post-update. So this is an option. SpiderOak, correct, yes. So this is an option that we do it. The question is, of course, how does it get on the machine? Because if you post a news article and people install it, only like 10% or so will even read the article and less will install it. And also some of the features if we missed something. So the maintenance framework is kind of flexible, so we can probably also do lots of the stuff that Tumbleweed can do, but we currently don't do that. We could do more. So after telling you what we can do, I can also show you what we can't really do. We can't, of course, fix the installation. That's true. We can't change the 100,000 DVDs that you shipped. So not exactly, but the first stage we can't fix. We can have a microphone for Kolo?
Sorry? I don't want to confuse too many people, but we can fix them because we have driver update disk support in an installation, and we even did this in the past.
Okay. But, okay, driver update disk need to be... Yeah, so driver update disk can be, but they are likely shipped outside of the maintenance process, so it would be need to be shipped outside of the process, perhaps. Okay, but let me continue. So new major kernel versions. You will probably have noticed that we do minor kernel version updates, and they work pretty nicely because the kernel team, both the upstream stable team and our kernel team really takes care that nothing is broken. And our team also takes care that the care ABI stays the same and that all the kernel modules like NVIDIA and ATI continue to work. New build tool versions like a new GCC is out of the question because we would also need to rebuild the whole distribution if you want to really facilitate it, and it would invalidate any QA that we did. Change dependencies of packages and removal of packages would only confuse the update stack and also likely not work. And I forgot major library versions. So a new libpoppler, like we had the case just last week, we can of course release a Poppler update, a PDF rendering library update. The problem is that it has a new major library version, and we would actually need to rebuild all packages also to match this new library version. And rebuilding LibreOffice, half of GNOME, half of KDE is a bit out of the scope for this. So because we are also a little bit limited. So manpower is one of the more limiting factors. Hello, Jürgen. Manpower is one of the limiting factors because every update goes through the coordination team. So, and there are several manual steps that we currently do to process the update, to review the update. And once we submit it for inclusion to factory, there's also the review team that does manual review of the diff, of the package. And of course, also there are the packagers that provide the fixes, that provide the new versions. And we only have so much time. And this is one of the things. So bandwidth is less an issue for us and for the mirrors, but also for the users. So there are people, most of you probably install 12.2 in a DSL or Ethernet area, but there are also people still installing it in modem areas or other areas where they can pull hundreds of megabytes of updates. I also list QA. The interesting thing is that we don't do much QA. So if you think that every update that we do is QA'd, I'm afraid that you're mostly mistaken. So we have a rule that if we start updates, we keep them 7 days in the queue. So we keep them 7 days in a in the update test repo. So there's a testing updates repo, and various employees and various other people have this update test repo on their machines and immediately report to us if there are problems with it. We also have some automated scripts running that check for dependency issues there. But we are not taking every update and testing it manually so far. It's working quite well, so it's nothing we need to really put more power in, but we of course need to, this is one limiting factor for major changes. So if we do major changes, we really need to look at closer, and we don't have that much QA resources. For instance, we have published a PostgreSQL renaming scheme. I'm not sure if it's released or not. And there I have requested a bit of QA power to see if it all works. And so that people using PostgreSQL are not left with a broken database. Build power issue, Kulo mentioned that there's only so much build power in the OBS. And of course, that usually the developers that we have a forward focus, a forward and a factory focus. They want new stuff added, they want new cool things added, and new stuff done. So what we do currently is we do several major version updates already. So if you're wondering if we only always need to backport, no. We do version updates for the things that we can't really grasp at a smaller level, like Firefox, Opera, Chromium, also LibreOffice. There we do regular or semi-regular version updates. So you get the latest Firefox because it's so massive, it's changing so rapidly that we don't have the time to extract the fixes, and with the quality of their releases and the quality of Wolfgang's packaging work, it's easy to take the package and it will work. We did some minor version updates, PHP 5, Bind, KDE, kernel of course, and the Java folks, they also are kind of not controllable or kind of not separable. And we do lots of bug fix and other security updates which get smaller patches inside. So the last point is actually the one that we do the most. So how does it all look like? The openSUSE 12GA is, so it basically chains from the top to the bottom. So the openSUSE 12.2GA, this is the area of Kulo. As we look at it, it's frozen. So that it's totally unchangeable. We cannot change anything there. The area which is underlined with gray is the area of the openSUSE maintenance coordination team. And the one box below, that's you as a packager. There you are as a packager. So there's one big repository, the update repository, which has all the sources and binaries of the released updates. I will explain this in detail a bit later. And in our concept, we have so-called maintenance incidents, which are named openSUSE maintenance and a serial number. So the current serial number is like 1025 and not 42, but so every new incident gets the next serial number. And these incidents are actually their own build service projects. In these projects, the update is built and prepared, and it builds only, the concept is that it only builds against itself and against the 12.2 released updates repository. So the 12.2 update repository contains only the released updates. In former times, we had one big test update repo where everything built against each other, and it caused problems that we released some stuff which needed newer versions and so on, but the new concept says that the updates are prepared in the incident project, openSUSE maintenance 42, building with dependencies against the 12.2 update repository, and if they are released, they are pushed into the 12.2 update repository. The 12.2 update repository inherits, of course, from 12.2 GA. So what is not in the update repository is taken build-wise from the GA repository. So how does one thing get to the other? So the packager decides he wants to fix a bug. And he can prepare the update, basically, he prepares the update in its own branch. So I hope most of you that are doing packaging, do these, know how to do branches of development projects and do their fixes and submit their fixes. So it's basically the same for maintenance updates. There are slightly different comments. There are two versions. We have the maintenance branch comment, mbranch. OC mbranch hello would branch all currently supported versions of the hello package. If you only want to update one specific distribution, like 12.2, the hello version of 12.2, you would do OC branch, openSUSE 12.2 hello, but add the -m for maintenance update. The difference is that it creates a slightly different layout than compared to a regular factory checkout. So you will see package name dot openSUSE underscore version underscore update as package name. For hello, for the second branch, it would be just one, but it's so that in an incident there can be multiple versions of, for instance, the hello package. And instead of the usually submit request, you can, if you do an mbranch, use a maintenance request or a submit request against the update repository. No, this is, there my career did not work. Okay, so this is not so useful. But let me try to explain it anyway. So we have 3 versions of hello in one project. So hello openSUSE 11.4, 12.1, and 12.2. Usually if you have a project, it's building against all the repositories that you have added to this project. But we only want to do, want to build hello openSUSE 11.4 against 11.4, the 12.1 against the 12.1 repos, and the 12.2 against the 12.2 repos. So basically, the project itself has building disabled. The hello openSUSE 11.1 package is enabled for building for 11.4. The 12.1 package has on package level enabled building for 12.1 and for 12.2. So it's mostly diagonal in a matrix. And interesting here is also the patch info file, but I will talk about this a bit later. Back from the technology, back to the rules that we have for openSUSE maintenance. If you are submitting a maintenance update, try to keep your fixes self-contained and small. Do nothing unnecessary, because people will review your changes, they will need to review your changes, and if you do too much changes, it might break. We also have established several rules for the changes entry, similar to the factory rules. The linearity needs to be kept. Bugzilla number must be mentioned, so it's not a must requirement for factory, but for openSUSE maintenance updates, we decided to mention Bugzilla numbers in the form of BNC hashtag number. Reason for this is that RVC why this change was done, even months later, and that we can also discuss in this bug report if the fix is good or bad, or if people later find it, that they can discuss there. And also, the review team established the rule to also list the actual patch file names that you add to the package in the changes entry, and removed ones. Also for the spec file, the GNOME folks brought in the rules that also the review team follows, that the patch tagging that is used in the spec file also needs to be used for your new packages. So not sure if who have seen the GNOME patch tagging. There's above every patch every patch line, there's a comment in a specific tag format, and if it's there, then you also need to use it. So the patch info I mentioned. The patch info is a meta description file. It basically is used for the updater to display what exactly does this update fix. The packager is my build service name. The category, it's recommended for bug fix updates, security, for security updates. There's a rating. Yeah, it's not It's depending on the severity, mostly on the issue. The summary is the thing that is displayed in a one line by the update applet, for instance. The description is the detailed description, and interesting also is the backlink to the Bugzilla report. So there's a specific tag that lists either B and C, so Bugzilla no welcome entries or CVE entries. This can be either edited manually, which is not so good, or there's also a patch info editor within the web UI of the build service. It's quite a high page insofar I did not catch everything of it, but you see the packager, just keep it unchanged, it's pointing to you. The summary, description, category rating can be used by drop boxes. B and C field and CVE fields are for the trackers. And the required actions are, for instance, if you update a package management library, you will, like libzup, like package-kit, like appa or super or something, you would mark this as package manager restart suggested. If you update a desktop component like GNOME shell or X or something, you would relogin set a relogin suggested flag. If you update the kernel, you set the reboot. So the packager is finished. How does it transfer to the maintenance team? So I set openSUSE OSC submit request or OSC maintenance request, and then it arrives in the queue of the openSUSE maintenance coordination team or the security team. And they see it in their list, in their web UI or with OSC, and they look at the diff, they see if you matched already the guidelines of patches, and will either accept or decline it. And if it's declined, mention a reason why. If it's accepted, so-called maintenance incident will be automatically created. It looks like this. I showed you before. At this time, the packager is no longer responsible. So at this time, the coordination team is responsible for the update, and the packager doesn't need to care anymore. The coordination team checks the basic, that it still builds, proofreads or writes the patch info, and also takes care that in the end it's landing in the update test repo. There should no source changes be done there anymore, because otherwise it would confuse what the packager did, what you did. So if something needs an additional source change or a changes entry change or a spec file change, it always should be submitted again from the packager if possible. So don't touch the sources inside there, just check that it builds. If it has built, then it's so after half an hour or so, it's usually can be handed over for an update. Let's see this. So basically, the maintenance coordination team files a so-called release request for release into the 12.2 or 11.4 or 12.1 update repository. At this time, this incident project, this openSUSE maintenance 42, is locked. So locked means there are no meta changes, no source changes. It will also stop building at this time. So it's basically frozen at the state it's currently in. The reason why it's frozen is that if other updates would be released, it would rebuild within this project again and invalidate any kind of signatures or similar. So it basically fixes the binaries and the sources at this specific point in time for the release. Currently, the update will, for 12.2, for instance, will be appear under this URL. You can also specify the full path via repositories openSUSE maintenance 42. It did not fit on this page, but just walk the directory tree on download openSUSE.org. This release request is reviewed by the openSUSE review team, the same team that also does the factory reviews, and they give their okay. And if necessary, also by the legal team and also by the openSUSE QA team for the kernels. The acceptance and actual release then done by the maintenance team again. So basically, we open the request and finally also accept it, which might sound a bit funny, but in the end, the important thing is the reviews that happen in between. So, and when it's released, or when it gets released, it gets pushed into the openSUSE 12.2 update repository. The sources of hello will enter hello.42, so the maintenance incident number. There will be a source link from hello to hello.42 to the latest version. And there also will be a patch info.42 created within the openSUSE 12.2 update repository, which contains the actual RPM binaries. So there the incident, the sources from the incident get below hello.42, and the binaries and the update info XML gets put below the patch info. So patch info is actually the container of the actually binary packages. So, and while in earlier times we really had to call our administrators if we want to pull an update, now it's pretty easy. To pull an update, we can delete it just like any other package from the openSUSE 12.2 update repository, and after a while the scripts in the background will also remove it from the update repository. So simple R delete. We can also delete the sources if we want to, if they are really bad, but usually we keep the sources for incremental changes. Yeah. So what the openSUSE 12.2 update repo also does is delta generation. So you will get delta RPMs. And the next one that does an update to hello will follow this hello source link to your hello.42 sources and can work on top of the changes that you had there. So the documentation starts at the portal maintenance entry in the openSUSE Bugzilla, in the openSUSE wiki. Not sure if there are translations of it, but perhaps also there are translations to other languages. If you have any question regarding openSUSE maintenance update, you can either Bugzilla need info us or send an email to maintenance@opensuse.org. So, how much time do we have? 15 minutes. Okay. So I will briefly show how this all works in real life first. I don't get a larger font. So let's just do the OSCM branch hello. It exists already. Then let's branch something else. So CHMC is a package that is a Microsoft Help viewer thing that uses the Xudorunner engine. And I forgot with the last Mozilla update that it also needs to be updated with the last Mozilla update. So I just need to update this CHMC, I'm not sure exactly how they pronounce it, for all distributions. So basically, I do an mbranch, check it out. Let's see how the network is. So, and you see the layout already. It does the 11.4 update, CHMC 11.4 update, 12.1 update, 12.2 update. What you don't see yet is that there's no patch info. You can create a patch info just using OSC patch info or in the web UI. What? I can't do bigger fonts. I don't know how to do this with Xterm. Yeah. Yeah, so, but basically, better eyes. Yeah, so now I would start and go into every of those directories. I mean, you're familiar with bug fixing. Add the changes entry, here I already added it. Updated to rebuild with 16.01 Mozilla update. And that would basically be the main part. There you see the diagonal line. So the 11.4 builds only against the 11.4 repo and so on. The patch info basically waits for the packages to be built, and after the regular RPMs are built, the patch info meta virtual file will build and collect the RPMs and also then generate the update info XML. So, there already is a CAMC update submitted. So let's see how this looks like. So it's the request 138529. So this is basically what I did last week already, so it's the same update. So it basically is set up in the openSUSE maintenance 1016 branch. And is there basically also ready. So let's see if I can show you the patch info editor quickly. Maintenance 10, 16. So the web UI is still a bit slow because it does a lot of work in the background. But basically what I would do is then go into the web UI, edit the patch info, because editing it in the XML editor is kind of cumbersome, and looking if it all builds. They are test built, and in the end, I would see, so the patch info as I prepared it, I can make those bigger. So it's quite simple, so there's nothing special in there. And I would, the request itself that I need to approve later on is looking like, make it smaller please. No. So what you see at the right is that AJ, as part of the openSUSE review team, so I created the request 4 days ago, AJ reviewed it, and the next step would be now for me, as there are no other open reviews, I could now release it. As I told you, we usually wait 7 days for it to be in the update repo, for people to install the test updates and then to see if it breaks or not. And in that case, we would basically wait for 3 more days and then release it, unless someone speaks up. So the web UI also has, it looks, I'm not sure if I get this quite fast. So there's an incident overview that I as a coordinator can use. Loads a bit slowly. Yeah, so there are still some smaller bugs inside and some slownesses that we likely feature out in the future. So I get a nice web overview of what updates exist, and so let me find my CAMC example again. So 1016, the summary is printed. There's a flag. If it's green, then the release request is ready to be approved. It builds for 12.2, 12.1, 11.4. It's a recommended low update. There's one Bugzilla entry. And the checkmark sign is that it has actually built and everyone is fine, everything is fine. There's one Bugzilla entry, yeah, so it looks good. So and this is one of the pages that we also used to look at the state of the current work, and this is basically our current queue as it is exactly at this time. So there are some open issues that are more open and have more issues to still be looked at. There's a test update for myself at 10.25 and some others. So basically after some customization or some getting known to it, it's quite simple to work with. There are occasionally problems. There are occasionally fallouts where you need to change source links and so on, but these are all things that can be improved, or bug fixed at least. And switching to this method 1 year ago, I think it was 1 year ago, I don't know, 1.5 years ago, to the openSUSE maintenance, I don't know, to the new model, I don't know. So I think we started with 12.1. So we started with 12.1. That would make it 1.5 years ago or so. Yeah. So we are using it daily. The good thing is also that it's completely possible that also community members work in the openSUSE maintenance team. So before it was a SUSE specific show or a SUSE specific tasks that were done with internal tools. Now it's all external. It's all reachable via OSC or the web UI. And if someone wants to join the openSUSE maintenance team and help us or look over our shoulders, at least it's all possible. So you see what we see, basically. So I hope that I was successfully showing you of one thing that how we work with openSUSE maintenance, how the technologies work. If you have more questions, I'm here till tomorrow, or I'm available via email, or I'm reachable via the maintenance alias. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them now. Thank you. Any questions? None.
So compared to the year ago when mostly it was a SUSE show, how much participation do you see and what can be done to increase it? Because I'm working in SUSE at quality, and I think getting out updates is independent if it was less, where we do a lot of work is also important for openSUSE for each of you. So if we all help together, I think it's best for the community.
Yeah, so far, this is also kind of resource allocation issue. So basically, I mean, we are now allowed, we are operate in the open, so the community can get involved. SUSE has so far told us to support or to operate this for 2 releases and 2 months. So basically 18 or now 20 months for 11.4. With community members joining in, even this method itself could be used to extend also the openSUSE lifetime, perhaps. So far, Evergreen does a parallel thing, but we had we had 2 birds of a feather sessions, one on LTS, one on Evergreen today, where we discussed on how to use this method, the actual technology for Evergreen, and what actually to change with Evergreen and LTS so that it might be possible to get longer support for openSUSE. So the technology is there to make it easy to do updates like we do, so like SUSE would do, because it's all openSUSE now. And yeah, so we can actually escape the reaches of the 18 months that SUSE imposes on myself, for instance. So, more questions? Okay, then thank you.
Thank you for the talk. We will continue in 5 minutes.